Well, good evening to all of you. It is great to be here with you tonight. I have just so many memories of this community, and especially growing up. When I was 12 or 13 years old, hearing my dad talk about Cleo Ornborg or Randall Riegsecker. You know, they were old guys back then, I guess. I was just this little kid, and remember coming here to Pleasant Grove, only it was in another church house at that point. Remember one of the events that happened here, we had just come back from Belize, one of the times when we had been down in Belize, and my dad was asked to share on the ministry that happened down there. For those of you who may not know, my dad's name is Daniel Miller. Daniel Marietta Miller, some of you may remember. It's been a long time since they lived in the community here, but yeah, many fond memories. Just used to live on County Road 33, right over by the creek. You know where that's at. That was where I spent many days. We used to have to bike that road when it was still dirt, right? Back in those days. Good to be here. It's been a while since we were here. I'm guessing most of you are aware of what New Horizons does. Over the years, mostly what we have done is care for children or babies who were born to women in prison. That has been the ministry most of these years, and God has continued to bless it in so many ways. Expanded to take care of children placed through the county. We are a child placement agency, so that the children are placed through the county as well. And then also prison ministry has grown way more than what we had anticipated earlier. And Department of Corrections just begging for help. And so for those of you who don't know what we do, that is New Horizons. We'll be talking about that more later on. We do these programs, first of all, to glorify God and to lift Him up, because He is worthy. Whatever we do is for the glory of God. Whatever is said tonight is for the glory of God. I do not want New Horizons to be lifted up, or any of us. It's all about praising God for what He has done. He's worthy. We don't have to look around us very far until we see exactly what our life would look like if we didn't know Jesus. Those people who don't know Jesus, don't kid yourself. You would be just like that if you didn't know Jesus. And so we have so much to glorify Him for. So we love to glorify God, brag on God for what He is doing. But we also need more help. We need people to join the team, and we have so many opportunities, and so we're recruiting. I guess I should have asked Brother Randall or Cleo if it's okay if we share some staff needs here tonight. And then also we're looking for people that want to join by donating to the ministry. And our thrift stores are able to provide about half of the funding, but the rest of it comes from people like you who say, you know what, I want to be a part of that and get involved in that way. So ask the team to come on up, and we'd like to start with a time of worship together with you. There is a number of hymns that we have put together we call it the prison medley. When you go into prison, there's some of these hymns are just that when you ask for selections, these are the hymns that many of the men and the women will ask for us to sing. I think it goes back probably to some of their childhood of what they experienced as they maybe went to church as a little child, and even worshiped in the chapel at church. So we would like to sing these songs, and if you would stand with us, and we just ask that you would sing along on this prison medley.
I once was lost.
We know that your life here was an example for us. And Lord, we know that as you died and rose again, that is our hope, our only hope of a relationship with you. And Father, tonight we just want our lives to be a living sacrifice for you. It's a reasonable service. And Lord, I just pray tonight especially you would forgive us when we get distracted by things of this world or things that take our eyes off of you. And sometimes it's the hard things of life that we see the waves, and other times it's actually the good things that come that makes it that we look on those things, the successes, and it takes our eyes on you, off of you. And tonight, God, I just pray that you would help us, or we need your grace to fix our eyes on you and be obedient and do what you've called us to do. And Lord, we know that you want to do a work in each one of our lives. So we open ourselves to that. Lord, I pray that you would be honored and glorified, that you would be pleased with as we share tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
All right, so I'm sure you guys want to know who we are. So Matt, you want to start?
So I drove up here this evening, and I was expecting something that I had seen 30-some years ago. It was the last time I was here, and it wasn't what I remember. And somebody told me that you've changed it all around. So I don't know if I would remember it now, but I had a different picture. I think I was, 10 years old or something last time I was here. It was a long time ago. My wife and son and I moved out to Colorado from South Carolina about 7 years ago. My name is Matt Overholt, married to Elaine, son Craig, and we were privileged to be a part of the prison ministry and to start that, and been part of that ever since.
As I said, I'm Arnold. This is my wife, Nina. Our oldest one, Damien, is not feeling well. He's out on the bus. And then Trinity is next, and Alicia is also not feeling well, but she's at least here with us this evening. We moved to Colorado in 2004 to be house parents, and we were going to be there a year or two. We're still there.
My name is Megan Hosters. This is my wife Hannah and our son Josh. And we moved to Colorado about 4 years ago. And we work with the moms of the children that we take care of. And we also work with the house parents, the nannies, the children, and the house parents of the youth that come and work with us.
All right, and I am Brock Weed. I work in the thrift store, and I am from Ontario, Canada. That's good to see you all. We got a few more songs to sing, so we're just going to continue on with that.
You may be seated. Thanks for standing with us.
All creation rises to rejoice. Behold our God, seated on his throne. Come, let us adore him. Behold our King. Nothing can compare. Come, let us adore him. Who has held the nails upon his hands, bearing all the guilt of sinful man? God eternal, humble to the grave, Jesus Savior, risen now to reign. Behold our God, seated on his throne. Come, let us adore him. Behold our King. Nothing can compare. Come, let us adore him. You will reign forever. You will reign forever. You will reign forever. You will reign forever. Behold our God, seated on his throne. Come, let us adore him. Behold our King. Nothing can compare. Come, let us adore him. All right, so we as a group, we like to do some newer songs like that one. But we're gonna go ahead and do an older hymn. So I hope you enjoy it, and I hope most of all it brings you to worship.
O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed.
Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
When through the woods and forest glades I wander, and hear the birds sing sweetly in the trees, when I look down from lofty mountains' grandeur, and hear the brook and feel the gentle breeze,
Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God,
think that God his Son not sparing sent him to die. I scarce can take it in that on the cross my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art, how great thou art.
Amen.
I pray tonight that your soul is singing, God, how great you are. Our God is amazing. Our God is awesome. He's all powerful. There's nothing he cannot do. But so often in our lives, something new comes up. If you're like me anyway, I'm like, God, I've never been through this. Are you big enough to take care of this? Are you great enough to handle the mess I'm in right now? And I hear that over and over in prison. Guys come in the office and they go, Chap, I've went too far. I've done too much. I don't know that God can forgive this. I said, no. I don't understand how great, how compassionate, how gracious our God is. I'd like to share with you a story tonight that happened in the chapel in Territorial there where I work. I'd like to share it with you tonight. About 2 years ago, I had two gentlemen come in the chapel. And one of them was a gentleman that had just got born again about a month before that, and he drug his friend in with him. And as they come in the door, I went to meet him and say hi and talk to him. And the second guy that came in, he goes, introduced himself, and he says, Chap, I just want you to know I'm an atheist. He goes, he's kind of surprised if your chapel don't start on fire or the roof cave in if I come in here. He said, I haven't been in church in 31 years. And I said, I kind of doubt that's going to happen, but you're welcome to come to the chapel, so love having atheists come in here. He kind of looked at me funny, but when I got him some music, they went and sat down, and they were listening, him and his friend were listening to music there, and I went to my office right off the chapel, had the door open, I was doing some work in there, and he looked up, he was standing in the doorway, and he said, can I talk to you? I said, sure, have a seat. And we got to talking, and the first thing he wanted to tell me is, Chap, I just don't believe there is a God. He said, I haven't been in a church like this in 31 years. And we talked about that for a while, and after a while, I talked him into letting me pray for him. And his words were, well, I don't know that it can hurt anything. And I'm just like, yeah, it can. Our God is amazing. Our God is great. But tonight, I can either finish the story for you, or else I can call that gentleman up and ask him to finish it. So we think they'd be welcome tonight. Nate agreed to come along on this trip, and I'm grateful. It's been a dream of mine for about 15 years now. to sometime be up on a stage with a guy from prison that God has radically changed his life, and it's just an honor and privilege to be with him tonight. And I'd like to ask you a few questions, Nate. Share your story with us through that, all right?
Okay.
So Nate, tell us a little bit about your life before I knew you, before you come to Christ, before you came to prison.
My life was very much full of drugs and alcohol and criminal activity from the time I was 12 years old. But the worst thing is, somewhere along the way, I don't know if I ever even believed in God. All I did was rebel against it. But I had become an atheist where I didn't believe in God at all. I guess that would be the worst thing in my whole life, is if you could all imagine not having a God in your life and what your life would be like for 43 years. So that's kind of in a nutshell the way my life went.
So the part we're looking forward to hearing, though, is how did God get a hold of you? What made you change your mind and realize that God was real? And tell us how that happened.
Well, first of all, we were all sitting down and everybody was looking at me like I've been picking on Matt a lot here lately, but actually we've been doing it since we've known each other the last 2 years. So what he does forget is as he getting a little older, he can't remember a lot, but our first meeting was actually in my cell in prison, and I usually get up and stand up to meet somebody, but when he said it was Chaplain Matt, it really did not matter. I had no desire to meet anybody that had anything to do with God. Now, the second meeting we had, I was still a non-believer, but in prison we have a certain amount of time, 10 minutes to get from point A to point B. Well, I timed it just right with our second meeting, and I ran out of there before he prayed for me, because honestly, it didn't make me comfortable at all. I guess my story, it begins where I first started seeing miracles. Now today I know that there was a lot of miracles in my life before that, after that, but I have a heart problem, and in prison I had to go to the infirmary when I was having chest pains. So when they checked my blood pressure, it was like 240 over 140. If anybody knows anything about blood pressure, that's a little bit high. So I wasn't showing any signs through their EKG of having another heart attack, but they gave me a medication that's supposed to lower your blood pressure within like 30 minutes. That 30-minute time period went by, and the nurse checked it again, and it was still like 220 over 130, somewhere in that neighborhood. It was still way too high. As I was sitting there, a gentleman is by the name of Stan. He was a believer in Jesus and a believer in prayer. As we started to talk, he asked me what was wrong, and then he asked if he could pray for me. And it kind of still, I'm an atheist and I don't believe in prayer, but I told him, okay, if it's going to be good for you, go ahead. Little did I know, after he prayed for me, the nurse called me back up to check my blood pressure again. It was 120 over 70. I've had high blood pressure and heart problems all my life, and I haven't had that type of blood pressure for many years. I don't ever remember having that great of blood pressure. So he not only prayed about that, but he also prayed that they would get me to a facility, to a hospital, to take care of whatever problems I was having. And that was the second miracle in my life that I recognized. Now my third was the best for me, and even though I didn't understand what was going on that third day, they were transporting me to a hospital. And in prison, you got this little thing called a black box where you're kind of all shackled up and chained up, and they don't let you move too much. But I finally decided on the way there, it's about a 40-minute ride, that I was going to pray for myself. And in the first time that I could ever remember in my whole life, I actually said a prayer for myself, and it felt like every chain had been lifted off my heart. It felt like I was no hurting, no longer in pain. It's very hard to explain. I've never felt that way in my whole life before. And not only that, I went to the hospital and they not only had to put one, but I got the only cardiologist who would put 2 stents in one artery. And other than that, I would have been facing yet another open heart surgery if it wasn't for that. So it was like 4 miracles there in a short period of time that I finally recognized. Well, Matt came back from vacation and I could hardly wait to get back to the chapel. And I kind of ran to him, ran right into his office, and we sat down and talked, and I still did not quite understand what was going on, but of course he just kind of laughed and said, yeah, you did. But I mean, he also, I told him, don't ever let me leave your office without praying for me. So, you know, and he, with his good old smile, he said, sure, but you're gonna have to pray for me too. That kind of wasn't what I wanted and expected at that time, but you know, things have changed since. I also turned my life over to God and Jesus in his office, and you know, that was another experience. And well, as we were doing that anyway, we had this worship band kind of, and they were screaming and yelling, and we were screaming and yelling at each other, and I kept saying, huh, because I couldn't hear him, but it all worked out the way it was supposed to. And then I was also baptized in prison. There it is. Matt put a little ice in the water. That's why I got that smile on me. But that was, you know, that was another true cleansing of my life. And this all happened in prison. I mean, I found a God, I was baptized, and it has continued since I've got out.
Praise the Lord.
Amen. Praise the Lord is right. Just a quick note, the gentleman right here beside the post that is clapping, that is Stan. That is a gentleman that prayed for him down at the front. He is a believer. And Nate, I don't know if you know it or not, but Stan has been praying for you every day while you're gone. He's still in territorial prison there. He said, let Nate know I'm going to be praying for him every day. That was quite a day sitting there, and Nate gave his life to Christ with tears streaming down his face. I don't think I'll ever forget that picture. From an atheist to a brother in Christ. But one more question I have for you, Stan. What's it been like since you got out of prison? What has God done in your life in continuing this journey?
Well, I don't have all the time to tell you all about that, but I mean, there's been so much that has happened in my life, and one of the main things is that I am very much addicted, or was very much addicted to drugs and alcohol. What Matt told me in prison was that if I continued to pray, I would no longer have the desire to drink or drug. All I had to do was simply ask God to relieve that. And of course, I didn't believe him at the time, but see, since then, and since I've been out, I have not had a desire to drink or drug again. Just by simply praying. I have my family is 3 brothers and a sister who wanted absolutely nothing to do with me, absolutely nothing. But they, since we talk now, I mean, I'm a part of the group text. I don't know what that is, but there's a whole bunch of people come over to this thing and we can all talk at one time. It kind of confuses me, I don't know about you guys, but I'm a little old for that group text thing. But, you know, we came together. One other thing is when I got out of prison, my mother was still alive, but she had never seen this side of me, and for years and years she prayed for me to find a God, and to find Jesus. And for the last 10 months of her life, she was able to see that in me. I mean, that was a total blessing since I've been out. I have a daughter that, well, her and I, let's just put it this way, we don't see eye to eye for the last 12 years, but a blessing comes out of everything. Again, with my mother's funeral, it was the first time we'd seen each other in 12 years, and now we're starting to conversate. She doesn't quite understand who I am because I'm not the same person I was before. And very seldom did she ever talk to me where I wasn't sober or drugged up so bad that I couldn't even remember her name. So, and I also today, I mean, there's just so much. I work, I have a place to live, and you know, a lot of you probably don't understand how excited it is to have a home. I mean, for me, you know, with lights that actually come on every now and then, I play with the light switch just to make sure they do. You know, I've been homeless and you know, just so much in my life that I've created, and today I am just happy. I have a job. I've been at that job for over a year. But I mean, you know, like I said, I can go on and on about that, but those are the true blessings in my life, and then I have no desire to drink or drug again.
Glory to God.
Glory to God is right. That's what I was going to say. All glory goes to Jesus Christ, and we just honor him tonight. Nate, bless you, friend. Most times they try to keep me from telling prison stories at home because I get started and I don't ever quit. Last week I had an interesting thing happen. We were in prison on Sunday morning, and one of the new chaplains that just came out there was his first time in prison. It was his turn to run the service, and his dad came from Ohio. His dad's a pastor, and so he said, "Can I take my dad and let him preach for me?" I said, "Absolutely, that'd be great. I'm going with you to make sure everything goes well for you the first time." We get in there and get ready to start the service, and his dad had high blood pressure, and he asked his dad, he said, "Can we do an anointing service here in the chapel for you ask God to bring your high blood pressure down?" He said he just about couldn't come out. It was that high. I don't know how high it was. He didn't say. Anyway, he went ahead and anointed his dad, and just got done with that, and I prayed over him, and his dad was fixing to preach when one of the offenders raised his hand and said, "Hey, I guess something going on in my life. Would you anoint me?" And I said, "Sure, we got time to do that," and we did that, and then the pastor that was there, he just said, "You know, Matt, there may be others here that need to be anointed." We never did hear his dad preach. Guys started an anointing service, and it was guys were getting set free from different things. But I tell you that part, just after the service, we were just getting done. I looked over to the right, and there was a young guy standing there. And I could tell by the look on his face, he wanted to talk to me, and he was kind of nervous. So I walked over to him, I said, "Can I help you?" And he goes, "Yeah." He said, "I need to be anointed." And he said, "Do we still have time?" Well, it was already, they called count, and they were having to go back. And I said, "I quickly in my office and said, 'What's going on?' I thought he said, "Chap, I have been involved in homosexuality ever since I was a little boy." And he said, "I want to be set free today." He said, "I am so tired of living my life." And I was able to pray for him quick and just ask God to set him free. And I set up an appointment the next morning. The story he told me was so incredible. Growing up there's two things I knew about him already: that he didn't have a relationship with his dad and he had been abused. That's 100% of the time when he walked into homosexuality. This young guy is 18 years old. He's been in and out of juvenile all his life. And he sat there with tears streaming down his face and said, "Yeah, I'm so tired of this life." He said, "I was abused, started getting abused at 5 years old," and he said, "It's never quit." 18 years old. You say that's awful, and it is. But he sat there, and I ministered to him, and he walked out of there. He said, "I feel like he's just floating on air." He said, "I feel like I've been set free." And I said, "You have been set free." I tell you that story just once again, how great is your God. There is nothing. I don't care how far you've been down into the pits of sin. I don't care how far you run away from God. He's right there. You read that in the Bible. It says, "If you go to the pits of hell," he said, "I'm here. I don't care. You go out on a ship, out in the ocean. I may have a whale waiting on you, but I'm going to pursue you." And that's what he does. And that young man is 18 years old, and I just see for him that life's going to start over. You have it set up, Marlon? I'll keep on if you don't.
I was a very evil, wicked person. And I didn't like that person. I had to go all over who I was. And since Jesus came into my life, I'm finding who I'm really supposed to be.
Never Rosal's ministry has saved my life. Freer sitting here than I've ever felt in my life. I wouldn't even have a Bible if it wasn't for Chaplain Donna in East Virginia. If it wasn't for them being a light and not of darkness, then
I used to live legal criminal life. I used to live a life of a thug, gangster, drug addict, alcoholic, drug dealer. I mean, the list goes on. I'm currently serving a life without parole prison sentence. I've been down for 14 years now. Now Christ has given me life and uses me as his vessel to reach out to my family and lead them to Christ and many others.
My father was a heroin addict. I was able to watch his life and see what I didn't really want. But in a lot of ways, I mimicked what he did. I used drugs and I drank and stuff like that. And I just went in and out of jail. And I have been incarcerated for 25 years.
Before I met Jesus, I was going in and out of church every now and then because of my grandmother. But I mean, I was a wreck. I was into drugs. I was into gangs. I was doing a lot of stupidity stuff. And then now I ended up in prison. And this is where I found Jesus. Chaplain Matt walked me through it, and I gave my life to the Lord, and he baptized me here. And it was an incredible journey that I'm still on to this day.
I come from a huge line of drug addiction. While I was a lesbian, I came in and talked with Chaplain Virginia, and we prayed and broke through that. And I don't have the cravings for having that relationship with a woman anymore. It's amazing. I don't know how many times without appointments that I have come into the door and just been like, I need help. I can't get through this crisis. I need guidance. And the chaplains are like, have a seat. Let's talk about this.
We won't know that people out in the world still care about us. Because it says in the word, don't forget those who prison, and y'all not forgetting us.
This is the light within the prison, the darkness that surrounds this place. There's a lot of beautiful things that take place here. A lot of people become, who are enemies, become friends.
The difference that Jesus made in my life and continues to make is profound.
There's a lot of people that who are living in darkness out there, and this is their last chance and they find it here.
This is a big mission field. There's a lot of people who need to be saved, and a spiritual battle between non-believing and believing. And that's the biggest mission we have.
I have 3 children, and I have a son that has followed in my footsteps and in his dad's footsteps. It takes just one of us to break that cycle, to be able to show our family new life, and I believe I'm that one.
There's someone else here that you all know quite well, I believe, who is also involved in prison ministry. And I would just ask Enos and Lucy if you would come on up and share a little bit. Enos came to New. I met Enos at a banquet at Essenhaus. It might have been 4 years ago, and it was just, I don't know, there was something, my heart, there was something that happened there that I said, this is a guy that has so much potential and I would just love to pour into. And many of you know his story, and I just, yeah, I'm so blessed to have Enos, and we're so blessed to have Enos and Lucy at New Horizons. So share a little bit, Enos.
Okay, so first of all, it's good to be back here at Pleasant Grove and to see you are amazing. And we're excited to be here and share some of the things that are going on in our lives and what we're involved in, what we're passionate about. So I got involved in prison on a small scale by going in with Chaplain Matt and Chaplain Ricky for Sunday mornings for service. And you know, every time I walk through those doors close behind me, I realize that, man, that could be me. This could be me in here with you guys. I'm no different than these guys. With everything that has happened in my past, everything that I've done in my life, I could be there. God spared me from it. And that's when they asked me to take over the Friday evening Bible studies. And so what we do is we go in every other Friday night for a Bible study, and we get to share with them, and we get a relationship going with them. And there's times that you come out of there and you feel like they've poured more into you than what you've poured into them. It's truly amazing. One of the other things that we're involved in, I'm very, very passionate about this, is my family now. top left, that is Lyle, and the other one on the right is Bruce. We're in foster care, and I absolutely love coming home. And it's amazing. Coming home, these little guys meeting me at the door, calling me daddy. The oldest one, of course, always beats the little guy over there, but he somehow finds his way over there trying to find his hug as well. So Luke has a few things she wants to say about fostering as well.
So, like you said, we have two little guys. Lyle just turned 2 in October, and Bruce turned 1 in January. And as you can imagine, we were married about 9 years without kids, and so we got the first one, Lyle, in January of last year, and about 3 short months later, we got the second one. So you can imagine life without kids, and all of a sudden, in 3 months' time, you have 2 little guys, and that's pretty life-changing. But it definitely has been challenging, let's not lie about that, but we have thoroughly been enjoying it, and being mom and dad with these little guys, and showing Jesus to them. One of the stories that just encourages me and helps me realize that, you know what, we are making a difference in these guys' life. I usually try to pray for them before we go to visits, and usually at about a certain point in the road, I'll start praying for Lyle, because he goes to his mom and dad's house. And, you know, sometimes I forget to start praying, and I don't know if it's a certain point in the road, or it's just, hey, we go to mommy and daddy's house, we pray on the way. But every now and then, he'll pipe up from the back seat, and he'll be like, pray, pray. And I look back there, and he's closing his eyes only like he does, and he has one hand over one eye, and the other eye is wide open. And it always just stirs something in me that, you know, as young as he is, he does catch on to the whole praying thing. And so it's just huge for me to realize that some days it doesn't feel like we're making a difference, and it's rough. But when he does that kind of thing, and he's super happy, and yeah, he wants to pray, it does something to you. So both of these little guys are from the county, so they both have visits pretty much daily. So that's kind of what my days and weeks look like. But truly, if you want to have your life feel fulfilling and like you're making a difference in somebody's life, I highly recommend you guys get into fostering, because it doesn't only stretch you, but it teaches you, and you pour your love to them, and they love you back. So it's been good for us.
Yeah, that's one of the things as well, is like having the influence on our life, because we don't know how long we'll have them, but having them for a short time and pouring into them that little bit of love of Jesus might be the only love that they see. That is crazy. Like, we grew up with it, we know what it is, but when you pour it into somebody's life like that, it is fulfilling. There's of course those days that you wonder what you're doing and why are we doing what we do. But at the end of the day, when you talk them into bed and they tell you, I love you, Daddy, it pays off. Thank you guys for praying for us and supporting us out there.
So, you know, Enos and Lucy's journey, many of you probably do. And I remember it was maybe 3 years ago or so when Enos called me and he goes, Arnold, I messed up. And he shared with me some of the things that had happened, and just his brokenness and human, just brokenness, I would say, and transparency. Like, God can use this. Do you know God is so big that it doesn't matter what you have done in your past, He can redeem that? And to see the work that God has done in Enos's life has just been, I don't know how a dad could be any prouder of you tonight. I mean, it's just seeing the journey that you're on, and Lucy, how you has stuck by your husband and blessed him. And now those experiences that you had is I think making it richer for the prison part. As you go in there, your heart is more turned towards them, and even for the working with your children. As you were sharing, Lucy, I just had to ask, which is harder, caring for 2 children or 65 dogs?
You know, some days I'd give you back to the dog, and other days I think mothers could relate a little bit with the dogs.
So I don't know how many of you, I don't know if that happens as much anymore as it used to. You would drive down the road and you would see a group of men or women in jumpsuits picking up trash in the ditch. What went through your mind when you see them? Oh, there's some prisoners, you know, they screwed up big time, or wonder what they did. Did you ever think about their families? I used to never think of their families and what they must be going through. I'd like for us to imagine just a little bit, what would it be like in your family if the husband in your home or the wife in your home had to go to prison? That would significantly change your family. For many of the families in prison, they already have a lower income or is quite dysfunctional to begin with. So what happens to a little boy, or what happens to a little girl when dad goes to prison? And as you think about how that would be in your family, if that would be the case, then just take the church part out of it, right? Because if I would go to prison, I would be so grateful for the church because I know that they would be there for my wife. If my wife had to go to prison, I know I'm so grateful because the church would be there for me. But these families don't have church. Like basically all of them don't have a church. And it's so dysfunctional and it's so separate from where we are. We're so maybe blissfully ignorant of a culture or a group of people that are so profoundly impacted. I'd like to talk tonight just a little bit about this cycle of incarceration that happens. And we're going to start out talking about the personal cycle of incarceration. It often begins with addiction. And this addiction can start for many reasons. Some, they were having a hard time in life, they were with the wrong friends, and they picked up this addiction. For some others, too many of our moms became addicted or were taught how to use drugs by their moms. That's just something moms and daughters do together. You know, about 12 or 13, it's time to teach them how to do drugs. That's where the addiction begins. So it starts with addiction. The next step in this cycle of incarceration is crime, because almost no addiction can be paid for legally. So we resort to crime to pay for the addiction. That leads to prison. And then they go through prison and they pay their dues or whatever, fulfill their crime or fulfill their penalty, and they get out into reentry. And there's so many requirements for reentry. The parole is difficult for them to do, and then you add on top of that finding housing and a job as a felon. And so the stress begins to mount. They're not making their appointments on time at the parole office or whatever, and so they stress out and they say it's time. They do what they've always done, become addicted, then they go to crime, and then they go to prison again. That is a personal cycle of addiction, of incarceration, that the only way that they can break free from that is to have somebody step into their life and help them out. If somebody came up to you and said, I want you to move down to Elkhart, and I want you to live down there, but the only money that you can make is illegal. Can't make any legal money at all. You would be like, oh no, how do I do that? I don't know how to do that. I would have to find someone to help me learn that lifestyle, right? Because it's so foreign to me. I don't know how to do that. That gives us a little bit of a picture of what it's like for these men and women who are in this personal cycle of incarceration. They don't know, how do I get out? They don't know how to do that. The cycle continues. The addiction, the crime, the prison, re-entry, the addiction, it happens so many times. There's another cycle that I personally feel is just terrible. The first one is terrible as well, but the generational cycle of incarceration, where you have a mom or a dad that goes to prison, and immediately it makes the family dysfunctional because there's not a spouse there, and so, or there's not a parent there. So the family is dysfunctional. The children are impacted. We had one of the moms a number of years ago who shared how when she went to prison, her 13-year-old son had to pay the rent for where he was staying. How's a 13-year-old son supposed to pay rent? Get a job? Probably not. What he did, he would go through parking lots and look in cars and try the doors and steal or break windows, get out whatever was valuable, and sell it. That's how he paid his rent. Well, guess where he ended up? In prison, right? And so then you have this cycle with the children that goes on and on, and the generational cycle feeds the personal cycle. And it's a place where families, it's a place where generations get locked up in these cycles of incarceration where they don't know how to break free. And in the same way that I would need somebody to go with, I'd have to find somebody down in Elkhart. If I was going to go down there to live illegally, I would have to find somebody, like, you're going to have to teach me, where do you hang out? Like, where do you go? Or who are the people that I hang out with? How do I do this thing? In that same way, those locked in this cycle of incarceration need someone to step into their life and teach them how to break free from this cycle. There's a number of ways that New Horizons is able to step in to these cycles. And we're not able to step into every part of this, but there's a few of them that I feel is significant. The first one is prison ministry. You heard about that quite a bit tonight already. To go into prison and provide full-time chaplains, which is probably the most effective way to minister to inmates. Friday night Bible study is amazing. They need that. Crusades, revivals, conferences, those seminars, they need those times, definitely. But having, and New Horizons has the privilege of offering all those. But a full-time chaplain that can be there when an atheist walks in, or when a transgender person walks in, or when anyone is just broken and at the end of their, if they push it off till tomorrow, they might give up on themselves. But if there's a chaplain there, and it's such a blessing to be able to provide that chaplain for them. And so often when a prisoner gives their heart to the Lord, maybe anyone that has children, the first thing on their mind is, but what about my children? Where are they at? Like, I found freedom now. What about them? Nathan shared about his son Ethan tonight. Nikki on the video, she shared that she had a son in prison as well. This generational thing, it can just keep on going. And by providing chaplains and services and programs in prison, we believe, and we've seen it, that it breaks the cycle. Another way is reentry. Once they get out, we to provide support then. We have the privilege of sitting with the moms in their parole hearing. We can go into the hearing and have opportunity to even impact the direction of parole and what all happens in their reentering society again. And it's a very precious thing to be able to put a child and a mom back together and give her that support so that she can be successful. This summer, Lord willing, and this is something you can pray for us for, is that we will be beginning a reentry program where women coming out of prison can parole directly to a New Horizons facility. We can provide that support and help them as they get back into society. Before, we've taken moms already who needed help, but they had to go through another program first. Now they'll be able to parole directly to New Horizons, and that is where the reunification can happen with their child. We're really looking forward to that. Staff in place, program in place, facility in place. We're beginning to interview moms to come. And so pray with us about that. Another way that we want to break that cycle is through child care. And I think this is a child, just because they were born to a parent in prison, is 7 times more likely to go to prison someday. I'm just not okay with that. Just because I was born in the home that I'm born in, I mean, virtually 0% chance of ever going to prison. But someone else, just because they were born in that other home, they're 7 times more likely. And we want to get in the way of as many children like that as we can. And we're not sure exactly how God might lead in that direction. So far, it's been caring for infants. The oldest child we've cared for has been 10, but most of them are infants. And we know that caring for children the first 24 months of their life significantly impacts them for the rest of their life. There's something about the way children develop, their emotional well-being, having their needs met during that first 24 month is critical and profoundly impacts them. A number of children who are now in their upper teens and 20s that went through New Horizons and went back to situations that weren't that ideal their lives are significantly different than the rest of their siblings because of that first 18 months, the first 24 months of their lives. So we want to touch them and break the cycle, these cycles of incarceration in any way that we can to make a difference. You know, it's just, I don't like to use the word it's not fair, but it's not just. That we are so incredibly blessed. We know the Lord. We didn't grow up in perfect families, but they were way better than most people's. And I just believe one of the nannies that was at New Horizons a long time ago, she was just saying, she made a comment, she says, I just believe that the blessings that I was given was not meant for us to keep. And we need to share that love and that hope that only comes through Jesus. We want to do that.
So I'd like to share with you a number of ways that can be part of the ministry. First way is by praying, and we appreciate your prayers. We also have some organized ways that you can see what some of our needs are. One way is by subscribing to our monthly email newsletter, and you can find that online at nhm.us. You can sign up for that. All the information that I'm giving you here we also have in the back, so I invite you to visit our tables back there and check out some of the literature we have. One of the things that we have is we have prayer cards for each of the children that are in our care. You'll see them back there. They have a picture of a child on them, and we invite you to take those and put them on your refrigerator, and as you see them as a family, just to pray for those children. Oftentimes when we do a PR tour, there will be people that have these cards in their Bible, and they'll come to us afterwards and ask us, what happened to this child? And many times we can tell them years later where that child is and how that child's doing. So that's always something that we invite you to be a part of with us. Just some other ways that you can stay connected with us. We do have Facebook and Instagram accounts that you can subscribe to. Also, we have a newsletter that comes out several times a year. There's a sign-up sheet back on our table. You could sign up for that. Just a couple of other interesting things. There's a booklet back there. It's called 2019 The Year in Stories. There's just really good stories in there that I think you'd enjoy. Another way that you can help us is by volunteering. We have a number of openings currently. I'll put them up here for you. We have a new couple coming, house parents, and coming sometime this summer. But that's also a need that we have fairly consistently. And so if there's anyone that would be interested in being house parents, overseeing the nannies and care of children, we would invite you to talk to us about that tonight. But even a need that we have sooner than that is for some nannies to fill that house that we're going to start up this summer. So if you're a young lady and you're 21 or close to 21 and you would have an interest in that, I'd love to speak to you after the service. You can see some of the others up here, daycare volunteers. We're looking for a auto mechanic. Matt is constantly looking for men and women chaplains. And we're currently looking for youth dorm house parents to oversee the BS staff that work in the thrift store. And also thrift store volunteers, I'll talk about that in just a few moments. Some of the video clips that you saw tonight, we have those and more on a DVD that you can find in the back. Feel free to pick that up. And maybe there's someone here, a young person that may have some interest in the future in coming to serve at New Horizons. We do a camp week every summer where youth can come out and spend a week working in the thrift stores and other places in the ministry and just kind of seeing what it's all about. There's a little red brochure, it looks like this. It says Camp Week on the front. If you would have any interest in that, I'd invite you to pick that up and take that with you. Back to thrift store volunteers, which we're constantly looking for. We're looking for young men and women, at least the age of 18. And we have a guys and a girls discipleship program that they're a part of while they're working at the thrift store. Brock is currently in that program and working at the thrift store. And I'm going to show you just a bit more about that with DVD clip here. Thank you.
Back home, I really liked what I did. I really liked making money and all that, but I just knew there was something missing.
I wanted to be content just to be at home, but I was restless.
So the plans I had to come out here was to be a nanny, and God did not have that plan. Currently, I am doing the household assistant, and it's very stretching.
Being a department manager in the Pueblo thrift store and just having to work with people on a daily basis has definitely it pushed me to grow in ways that I wouldn't have if I would just stayed at home and stuck with the same job I had.
New Horizons Ministries has 2 thrift stores, one in Canyon City and one in Pueblo, and the production center is at the Canyon City location. My favorite part of the thrift store is definitely people. I wake up every day and I can't wait to go to the storeroom and just meet all my favorite people and work with them all day.
So since I work in furniture, we get a lot of couches that are have lots of cat hair and dog hair, and trust me, they really stink.
It helps to give child hope, a mother to be able to support her child and be a productive member of the community and the body of Christ.
By folding sheets every day, I get to help provide support for moms coming out of prison that need extra help with getting back into society.
Folding those endless towels makes it possible for women to go into prison and be chaplains to the inmates.
Since being out here at New Horizons, it has better prepared me for my future. Just in the leadership that I am gaining from being out here, it's just really going to help me later on. It's very satisfying to know that you're doing something not for yourself, but for the greater good of others.
Camp Week is basically a week for youth to come out here and experience what the VSers experience in just 1 week. You get to work on the household, and you get to see some sightseeing, which is very awesome.
One of my favorite pastimes is hiking, and there is an endless amount of hiking out here that you can do.
At home, I always relied on my parents for like the spiritual part of my life, and then just coming out here, I had to completely rely on God.
One of the biggest lies for me is coming out here would not be successful. I have found out that this is very successful.
big obstacle for me in the past was that I was not good enough. One of the first things I learned out here was that no matter what you do, even with the things you got and everything you do, with His Spirit in you, it matters.
One more way that you can get involved is to give. A number of different ways that you can do that. One of them, we have this little fund drive that we're doing right now. We're looking to buy 3 vehicles for our new child care home. Malin talked a little bit about that. That will be opening this summer, and especially for the van will be used a lot for transporting children to their visits with their mothers. And so if this is something you would like to contribute to, one of the ways that you can do that is we have a little, it's called a dip jar. It's on the deal in the back. It's a little credit card machine like this that you just dip your credit cards in. And I like to tell the children, ask your mom and dad for your credit card and go back there. It's really fun. You can just dip it in and out as often as you want to. Anyway, a few other ways to give is you can donate by check or cash. I believe later on we're going to be lifting an offering. Donate online at nhm.us. You can set up a one-time gift or a monthly gift as well. And I know that some of you have given. I know some of you have served there, and just from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you for that. The longer my wife and I are there, the more the causes of New Horizons become closer and closer to our heart. It's just this amazing opportunity that we get to be a part of building God's kingdom in a place that is so very broken. And as people volunteer and get excited about it, it is such an encouragement to us. And so I just want to, yes, thank you for being here tonight. God bless you in the work that you are doing. Turn it over.